This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Chris Cownden is a podcaster, host of 3 podcasts. His main podcast is in the top 5% right now. Now, after losing 90% of his savings, entrepreneurship was his only opportunity. There was no plan B. He was officially unemployable, unlimited earning potential, and now he is on a mission to help those that have been scammed, bullied, or had months and months without a steady income. Today, we'll be discussing the effects of bullying in childhood and how it can impact people's lives. Chris will be sharing his personal story of being bullied from a young age. We also talk about how Chris was able to overcome bullying through cooking and how this gave him a sense of accomplishment and how it took him on an incredible journey of adversity and resilience. From Michelin-star restaurants to podcasting, you'll hear about today on Life Transformation Radio. Chris, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hey, Rob, thank you so much.
Glad to have you here. So it's pretty cool how the universe works. And I met Chris in a business environment, and we've become fast friends. And I've gotten to learn a little bit more about Chris and his life and his successes and his failures. And I'm like, you got to come and you got to be on my podcast. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a goddamn blessing to be here.
Thank you. That's a heck of a compliment. I don't even know how to respond to that. So you're a podcaster, and so this is like a regular thing for you. And the thing about Life Transformation Radio is you're on business podcasts. So we're going to talk about real life and stories of your transformation. So we talked a little bit before we began, and you said that you had a pretty awesome family growing up and were really pretty happy and not a lot of drama.
Yeah, that's correct. Very, very supportive, very nurturing. And what I've realized in my adulthood is that could be a disadvantage as well. Growing up like more of a mother's child or son, I could be like a son husband. So I've got to step into
there's going to be people that are, there's going to be people listening that are going to go, well, I've had a lot of trauma. A lot of people have had some serious traumas. So, the universe gave you a great family life, and you do grow and you do get thicker skin and you become who you're going to become based on your trauma in your childhood, really. So I know for a fact that you had a great family life. However, was it high school or junior high or middle school? I don't know if they call it in the UK, but you were bullied.
Yeah, in primary school. So it was, I don't know how. So I supported a Fulham football club, and they
football
didn't,
meaning soccer.
Soccer, yes,
yeah.
Soccer.
Yeah, football. I don't know how we could get into a whole half-hour debate about that. But so you're in a soccer club. Now, I'll be nice and I'll just say your football club.
Yeah. So because they weren't a great team, and because I always wore them on my top, people would make fun that why are you not supporting a great team? So that was really the start of it, and they then I sort of bought and this is going back to maybe age 9 or 10. I was given a Barcelona pencil case, but the bullies nicked it from me and weed on it in the changing room toilets. And then
Oh, wow.
In another changing room, they pulled down my pants. And yeah, they locked me in the toilets. And
you were 9 years old.
9, 10, and I would always get in trouble for reacting or retaliating to them because that's what the teachers would see. But the initial route was the bullies, and they would just get away with it.
You know what's amazing about bullies is they're really so good about it. They know how to bully you in a way where the victim becomes a perpetrator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Bullying is quite serious now in 2023. And it just really puzzles me and in turn breaks my heart. I mean, I can see it in your eyes because right now you're reliving this moment. You were 9 years old. And
it's not nice to think about.
No. So was it a one-time shot or was it multiple? And then how did it end? Did you end up standing up to the bullies or what happened?
Yeah, there was a point. So it did continue. And I actually think, so let me go into this. I felt like, so the bullying continued, but I thought that was normal to bully. So I kind of became a little bit of a bully myself just to fight them off.
Right.
And that when I was in Scouts, I realized, that's not how I want to be as a person. And then it continued into secondary school that I was being bullied. So because when you constantly bullied, you just want to fight for yourself. And you kind of pick on other people because you don't want to be the victim.
And that's kind of how, bullies become bullies is they're not happy.
Yeah.
And so they're going to take their pain out on you. Did anything happen to those kids when you're 9 years old and peed on your pen set?
Oh, I'm not sure if they got any escalation at all, but I've got a clear name in mind of the bully, and I definitely don't want to see them at all. But so somebody,
I bet they probably remember, and I bet that they feel bad for it. Or they could just be asshole people and they're just a miserable mess in life today and they're still bullying people because adults bully people, which is amazing to me.
Yeah. So it did continue all into secondary school. And at one point, so I used to walk to school with a friend and we passed the bully's house on the way to school. And every time we'd pass, he'd trip me over. That's probably why I've got issues with my ankle. He'd trip me over.
Yeah.
So I'd have to find another way to school. And then eventually the bully was on his own. So I confronted him and had a bit of a street fight with him. But then when I was in school and after school, then they just beat me up. They grouped on me.
So you stood up to him and then they retaliated in force with multiple people, probably.
Yeah. And then I did have one opportunity. I was probably being a bit cocky, but I just needed to get some anger out. And he just hit me and knocked me out in the school. And, people like to say, fight. And he just did some damage.
That's one thing that I never understood. I went to school with the same kids from 4th grade to 12th grade. So I was with the same kids for 8 years. And I didn't have any experience. No, that's not true. 4th grade, wow, that's amazing. You think about it, and just how nasty, you know, kids can be. I guess I was bullied. I was sitting in my chair. I remember in fourth grade. I don't even remember. Wow, that's wild. You brought
Yeah.
back trauma. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Chris. I was in sixth grade, and no, I was in fourth grade because I remember it was a trailer school. So I was in fourth grade, and we had fourth, fifth, and sixth graders in there. And I remember this guy named Robbie. I won't say his last name. I'm going to say his last name. We're going to dox him. I'm going to give you his address too. I was sitting at the teacher's desk, and I was kind of hyper as a kid. So, ADD kid. And the teacher was really smart. He would give me tasks to do, and it would keep my mind busy. So I would grade really super easy tests and stuff. Not that I was a teacher's pet, because I was always in trouble because I talked a lot, which is, kind of a shock to most people. And I was sitting there, and he was giving me crap, calling me teacher's pet or whatever he was doing. And I called him a name. And then he was really kind of sneaky how he did it. And he goes, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry I did that." And I guess cool, it's all right. And he was a sixth grader. And the next thing I know, when I put my head down, I started doing the papers. He had gone and grabbed a fire extinguisher. And the fire extinguisher was not powdered, it was liquid. It was those silver ones. Yeah. And all of a sudden, man, I'm just getting doused with this fire extinguisher. And man, that was like amazing. And then he would do little stuff to me. And then one day I just stood up to him. And I'm in fourth grade. So I'm like a little kid. He's in sixth grade. He's probably like 2 years older than me. And I just stood up to him. Yeah, and I remember telling him, I said, "Look, you're not going to do this to me anymore." And I said, "This may be the last day that I'm alive. You may kill me. But I am telling you right now, you will not bully me anymore.
Yeah.
One of us is going to die today because I'm going to fight to the death." And it was funny because I think probably I saw it in some movie, Planet of the Apes or something. But I was serious. I wasn't going to put up with it. And he was bigger than me. And he just found someone else to bully. You stand up to a bully. I'm sorry that happened to you, that you had a group of people that, you came back retaliated. He just left me alone.
There was one point and sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
There was one point where, they would come looking for me, so I'd hide in the toilets. And when I thought they were not around the corner, I would escape, and then they would chase me, and I ran from one side of the school to the other to lock myself in another toilet. And
were you a smaller kid? Were you a small? I was a big kid.
Yeah, I was a big kid. And it's funny, just thinking back, I had a really good connection with the librarian, and she knew I was getting bullied. I don't know why she didn't help me.
Right.
But every time she knew that I was going to it was the staff toilet. Mm-hmm. So she would just give me the key, and then I would just run to there and lock it, and nobody would be able to get in. So for her to be able to witness the bullies doing this, but just give me the key so that I could lock myself in the staff room and be safe until the bell went. Looking back, I think that was a terrible librarian. But maybe she was teaching me a lesson, a life lesson, to say, I don't know what the life lesson could be, is keep getting bullied. I did stand up for myself, but I think there's a point I want to make, is I kind of had to prove myself prove my strength or prove a skill. And I was really good at goalkeeping. I've been a goalkeeper, and they would call me the cat because I could save almost any ball. I joined the football team to try to make friends, to try to prove that, I'm a cool guy. I made myself the class clown, but that got me in trouble. And still, I was just trying to break out of being a victim.
Right.
I think that has helped me in my adulthood, is being a bit cheeky, but, I built strong relationships with people now, and I have my circle and I know who I trust. But
yeah. So did it end? So you're 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, high school?
Yeah.
Were things better now that you were?
It continued all the way into school.
Same kid?
Different group of bullies. But it was a group of bullies, or two group of bullies, yeah. Alumgear and Stephen, and they were just...
Now, you grew up where?
In Coventry,
and that is
United Kingdom.
Okay. So, and I'm just jumping on a limb here, and I don't know, but, bully's a thing here in the U.S., and even more so now in 2023. But it's interesting to me because I love film, and I see all kinds of, I like TV shows from other parts of the country. Is it kind of a cultural thing in the UK of the more violent and more aggressive, especially around football? People have been killed for wearing the wrong jersey. There's been riots and stuff. Is that more in the UK culture? Is it more accepted? Is like you're getting bullied and they're like, toughen up, just be tough. Is that kind of the culture?
I'm not completely sure. I think if you look like you've got a weakness, then they'll just attack you for it. So I can remember there was a boy in my primary school. He had a hole in his chest, and he walked funny. So because that looked like a weakness to people, they would just pick on him. And if you've got a learning disability, dyslexia, or you're struggling to read and you've got to read out loud, well, that's a weakness. You're going to be picked on for that. If you've got glasses, you're going to be picked on for that. Or if you just spell a word wrong,
right,
then you're going to get picked on, even though you spelled the rest of the letters in the correct order. But
so how did you make it stop? So you're in high school, you're bullied. Did you graduate and that was it? You just like, I'm out of the school, thank God.
Yeah, so a dear friend of mine, I'm going to mention him because he definitely did help me. His name's Philip Dobson. We had a small clique and a small group, I don't know what to call, but he noticed that, I kept running from these people. Then he just went to the head teacher and got a couple of them expelled. And because we kind of had the head teacher on side, they kind of settled down a little bit. And I kind of just said, well, thanks for bullying me, and made it into just smiling, like, yes, you can't affect me.
Yeah.
I tried to just, because I'm a smiley person, and I just used that and said, you're not going to break me anymore. But I can't remember the actual event where they just said, Chris is a cool guy. I can't remember. I was on the rugby team as well. Oh, I was on the rugby team and I was a good tackler. And I probably tackled them hard enough and showed my force that they said, okay, I should watch this guy. And because I'd been in previous fights, they'd already seen what strength I had as well. So they could see maybe shouldn't be messed with, but I can't remember the exact event.
That's really interesting. You're playing football, goalie, rugby, all team sports. Usually the culture, especially in sports, is don't mess with my teammate. Like, don't mess with my team. So you had a whole team. Did the team not support you, or you just didn't involve them in what was going on?
Yeah, so I was in football team and rugby teams at school, but there's out of school clubs as well, and I wasn't a part of them. So they'd formed those relationships in school and outside of school, and because I did other things, I've just reminded myself what it could be. But so they already had formed a team bond, and because I was the singular one that didn't get involved in the out of school, that's probably why. But when I was getting bullied, I said, I've got to learn self-defense. So I went to karate every Wednesday until I learned the skill how to defend myself. I used some of those skills to fight back to that one in particular person called Fraser, and then he started crying, and I think that's just when it stopped, which is nice.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes, remember the movie Christmas Story, where Ralphie gets bullied all the time, and then he just snaps, and he just wails on that big guy, and he's swearing and stuff, and just beats him to a bloody pulp, and he runs home crying. I love that. I love that scene. That's a good scene. So the bullying stopped in high school.
Yeah.
By graduation, or did you stop it?
Yeah, it had definitely stopped and I felt great about leaving school. So everybody signed tops, and I think I even got, if I go back and have a look, I can sort it out for you, Rob, so I can show you. They've probably legend. So I got their approval that I was a nice guy. So
you were then finally accepted at the end of high school.
Yeah, which was nice. So I could move on. And that's when I went into cooking college, age 15, and then started working age 15 as a chef at a rugby stadium. And then I progressed.
Now, you wanted to be a baker since the beginning of time. You really wanted to be a baker. So what motivated you to want to be a baker? Like, was it a family member that baked, or you had some nice bakery treats one day and said, I want to do this? Or how did that happen?
Crazy story. I was in the Cub Scouts, and my dad is proficient in the cooking. He's more proficient than me, I would say.
Okay.
And we had to, in the Scouts, there was a cooking competition that was going around Coventry, and we decided to enter. There was 4 of us in the cooking competition. I can remember we had pea and mint soup to start the meal.
Okay, what is it? Now, I'm from the U.S. I have no idea what that is. What is it called?
Pea and mint soup.
Pea and mint. So I'm thinking mint, the herb.
And
herb.
peas.
Okay. And then, peas.
Yeah.
And then, wow.
Yeah, it's more like a potato base. So one, probably 2 or 3 onions, a couple of potatoes, and then adding the peas. So once the peas, but it was a really basic recipe. And then we we went on to lamb shanks with mashed potatoes. That was a nice gravy. And then for dessert, we had something like a summer fruit surprise. So it was strawberries on the base, strawberries on the side, so it looked a bit like a flower. In the middle, we had some Maltesers, which the honeycomb with chocolate around them, and then we whipped up some cream and put it in a nice mold. We won the competition, and that was an exciting experience for me. And I thought, I'm passionate about this. Maybe I should explore it. So on the weekends, while I was still in school, I think it was actually, I went to a junior chef academy at the University College of Birmingham. They did it to get people into the industry. And then I promoted to college. And when I was in college, people said, how come you know all this stuff already? Because I'd done it. So I could kind of share my skills. And I was professionally cooking age 16 at the University College Birmingham.
That's amazing. So when you were bullied, I'm sure you really had questions about you and your happiness, and I'm sure it really had an impact on you. What was that like for you to go in? And I was watching you do this, and you were reliving that moment.
Yeah.
Everything you did in preparing your summer fruit surprise and everything was very intentional. One of the things I like to do is when I cook, I love plating my food. I have very fancy plates. One of my most favorite things is plating the food to make it look all perfect and beautiful. My wife always teases me and she goes, yeah, you're from the land of beautiful food. I love to do that. So when you were doing that and then you had the accomplishment of winning, what was that like to go through what you had been through in the past and bullied, and here you're being admired and praised? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it felt good. And it's the same philosophy that I live by today, and is like proving myself right that I can do something, that if I give it enough time, I could achieve it. So yeah, I am a little bit cautious to go into different social situations. When we mentioned before the call that I'm starting my dating journey, I'm cautious about it because of probably the root cause of,
can you cook?
Yeah, I can cook.
Okay, so let me tell you something. Ladies in the podcast sphere, universe, dude, if you can cook and you can make an incredible meal for a lady, you are ahead of the majority of guys. Because first of all, most guys can't cook. They won't make the effort to cook. They expect her to cook. And if you can create a meal, putty in your hands, my friend, putty in your hands, especially if you make it beautiful and plate it, because what that shows is intention. It shows that you are making a very concentrated effort. You're creating something special. And yeah, I don't think you need a whole lot of dating advice. If you can cook for a woman, I cook.
Yes.
My wife, been together for almost 9 years. She can cook. I would bet that in that time frame, she has in no way cooked more than 7 times ever for me. Because I love preparing meals for her. She wants to cook for me. And I'm like, I love to serve. I love to make a beautiful plate and make a great meal and make it with love and have her experience all those taste sensations. And, her friends have said, wow, I wish my husband cooked like, she has leftovers or what have you. So I think you're good from there. So you won your competition, and then you're young doing it. And then did you get in and you were working as...
It really progressed. It really progressed, and I just committed to it. So the University College Birmingham has a really good reputation with Michelin-star restaurants and 5-star hotels.
So you were making really pretty food.
Yeah, really. I worked at Simpson's restaurant in Birmingham. That's the one Michelin-star restaurant. Got some really good experience there with fine dining plating and. But it wasn't. I didn't work on the coolest. I didn't work on the pastry section. Then.
I know, but I just think fine dining plating and plating your food in general, especially sushi and stuff like that, is just.
It's definitely still a passion of mine. I just need to get this podcast thing going, and then the dream is to eat in all the 3 Michelin-star restaurants in the world. And
you're doing it. You're doing it already. So you're going through that. And then, life at any moment can change, just like that. And you had a health issue with your ankles. And one of the things of being in a kitchen is being able to stand up.
Yeah.
And you weren't able to stand up.
Yeah, it was crippling pain almost every time friends will say that I bet they were getting sick of me because I was just complaining about my ankles all the time. And it became my story for a lot of the time is, oh, I can't do this because my ankles, or
Right.
I can't come out today because my ankles. Ankles was my first name, my last name, my middle name. It was in my head all the time. And there's
but you're in a lot of pain. And, you know, that's the thing about, you know, I've never heard people have ankle pain, but I am compassionate about that because a couple things of having pain when you share it with people is if you have back pain, it's excruciating and it doesn't go away. And 99% of people around you don't believe it. Oh, whatever. Or if you suffer from migraines, they're like, oh, God, whatever.
Yeah.
I was in a car accident. I had back pain. I have such tremendous passion or compassion for anyone that suffers from pain. And I didn't even know it, but until recently, I had a friend and she was telling me because of a car accident, she's been in constant pain for like 15 years.
Yeah, me too. I'm in pain right now, believe it or not. I'm seizing up, but
oh man,
it's probably stress related. But and I don't feel stressed, but it's just one of those things. Probably.
So what happens? So you're cooking. Your ankles are killing you. You seek medical help, and they said you can't stand so much anymore.
Yeah, so it got that serious. So the cooking career led me to some wonderful places. The university put me in contact with a White Barn Inn in Kennebunkport near Boston. So I spent some good time in America for a summer intern. And I was supposed to be there for the entire year, but it was cut short. I was only able to do it for 3 months because of my ankles. And what they ended up doing for me, which was a wonderful thing, is that it was an experience I'll never remember. I'll remember for the rest of my life. I used to be working on the fish section. I cooked a lot of fish because it was New England.
Nice.
Cooking.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Making me hungry. Okay.
Yeah. Cooking lobsters, scallops, salmon all day long.
Oh my God.
About 200 lobsters a day and just getting through them. Lots of chores. And one day I just said my ankle's really bad, but I'll push through and complete the service. And what they did for me is, because I had a boot that I took with me, because at that time I'd already had 2 ankle surgeries.
Wow.
So I took an air boot with me, those ones that you pump up in your foot to protect.
Right.
And the flour bins that they've got in kitchens, they said, sit on this. So I sat on that while I was preparing my lobsters.
Wow.
And then for service, they let me sit on that while I was spinning around doing stove work. It's probably health and safety wasn't great, but, I continued. There's a fighter in me. I'm resilient. And all of those little events is what has made me who I am today.
Yeah, I love that. And what's really great about that is that they saw your passion. They saw your work ethic. They saw your true grit of just pushing through the pain. It's obvious when you can see when someone's in excruciating pain. And they saw your ability and what you created and the food that you made with love. I mean, I know you're very heart-centered. And it's such a contrast from the bullies. It's kind of funny. I was just thinking, people bully people. And it's like, you don't even know me. Like, you don't know anything about me. Like, so yeah. I like how it's gone full circle, and you really got that praise and of service that you were, and you were appreciated and respected and honored that allowed you to do that. And then ultimately, you just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. The bullying did follow me into the cooking world because, it's very competitive and it's very demanding physically and mentally. Because if you get something wrong, then
Right.
There's been pans thrown at me. There's been
I've seen Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I've seen Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, it's the same as it is inside. So anybody who is considering a chefing career, if you can put up with that kind of trauma, go for it.
It's I will say,
it's competitive.
Yeah.
If you don't think you're going to be, if you're not the best chef, you're not going to make the most amount of money. You've got to be in it for the long game. It's a lifestyle. If you know you're going to be great, you've got to be in the top 1% to make a difference.
Wow. Yeah, I watch Hell's Kitchen and I'm like, that's just exhausting. Every night they're going to do the cleanup and the prep and all of that and have people be mad because the food isn't right and they don't even know that the food is right. They just don't understand how food works. It just seems so incredibly stressful. I can only imagine.
Yeah. But it's also really rewarding when you get in the groove. I was in Melbourne, Australia, working with Shane Delia. He named his restaurant after his wife, Maha. So if you're ever in Melbourne, go there, Maha, Maha, on Bond Street. So the way I approach it is to get a job in a kitchen, you have to do a trial. So I watch MasterChef Australia, and I've been watching it since I was 15 or so. And when I saw him on the TV, I said, oh, Middle Eastern, I've not really cooked Middle Eastern food before. I'd love to work for him. So I said, when I'm in Melbourne, Australia, I'll go to his restaurant and knock on his door and say where I've worked.
I'm Chris.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Chris. And
see, there you go. We talked about that before we started, didn't I?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chris. Exactly.
I walked in the door. I said I'd worked in Michelin-star. I said I've been to America and Europe. And they said, okay, we'll do a trial. What they did is they cooked the whole menu for me and they fed me while I was doing a shift. And I would eat some, oh my goodness, I'm going to go back there. The next time
okay. So I grew up, my friends owned a Middle Eastern restaurant, a Lebanese restaurant in San Diego, and tabbouleh, baba ganoush, the rolled grape leaves, the cubes of lamb that were just seasoned with salt and pepper and thrown onto a grill. They were these giant frickin' 3-inch cubes that you would cut. Oh, love it. Hummus.
Yeah. The pita bread that they'd make.
Baklava.
Oh. And the funny, so I would only work in restaurants where everything was homemade.
From scratch.
Scratch, completely from scratch. If it had to be handmade or handmade by somebody else, it would be really top quality, like the Turkish Delight.
Right.
Or the olive oil. Turkish Delight, let's go that. But I've really got into the grips of working at Maha. I could have stayed there forever. And when the Melbourne opens on, we're the personal chefs for Novak Djokovic's team, which is really great. And I was there for Christmas and I was invited to his house and we prepared food for him and his family and we were all invited. And I got to experience, okay, so this is what when you get to the restaurant owner level, this is the wealth you can experience. So I got a taste to see what it could be like if I was a successful restaurant owner. And so it was nice.
And then you transitioned from there. So was it your ankles again?
Yeah. So from the age of 15, I complained with my left ankle. And after I had the third, so both ankles are fused. So they both had a bolt through them. Because at an early age, well, I would just continue to do exercise, and the doctors put it down to growing pains. But it ended up that there were actually issues with the mechanics of bones not detracting at birth.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the root cause. And I had bone spurs. So they just decided to fuse the left foot, but that changed the gait of my foot.
Right.
Because
So it's a little bit difficult to walk. Yeah.
And because of the weight bearing heavily on one side for recovery, they noticed, oh, he's got the same issue in the right foot. So we've got to fuse this foot. But what people don't know is when you have ankles fusion, the surgery recovery is you've got to have your...
Brutal.
It's brutal. You've got to have your
brutal.
foot up for 55 minutes, an hour above your hip for 3 months. So 5 months down and then back up for the fusion.
You're worried about blood clots, right?
Yeah. So
I have 2 blood clots, and blood clots, talk about people not understanding. Blood clots are really scary, and they're something to be taken very serious. You can't see it. I mean, I was out for a couple months with a blood clot and trying to not die. I didn't want to have a stroke because if it breaks free, so you have to, take that stuff. And that's a lot, 55 minutes out of an hour.
50 minutes. So the time spent was reading through my books and trying to learn how to cook through reading books.
Wow.
Wow. I picked up 11 Medicine Park book. I picked up Noma and by Rene Redzepi, and I would just watch on YouTube and just visualize myself cooking in these top restaurants. Age 18, for my birthday, I was surprised to go down to Tom Kerridge's restaurant, Hand and Flowers, which is a 2 Michelin-star restaurant. And I was able to go in the kitchen, have a really good conversation with him. And then on my 21st birthday, we went to Copenhagen. And fortunately, my parents had steady jobs. And we were able to travel while I was young. So really grateful for them for that. And when we went to Copenhagen, we were sitting in Rene's 1 Michelin-star restaurant. He's got a 3 Michelin-star restaurant as well. Never in a million years did I think he'd walk through the door and sit beside me on a different table. And I saw him, he was just having dinner. And at the end, we saw him leave. So we paid for the check, ran out, and they got a photo with him. So it was like a dream come true that I'd met the chef that helped me get through my recoveries. And
you have lived a truly remarkable, extraordinary life, very inspiring. We talked about this. You have, challenges on your confidence. And I'm just sitting here. I don't understand why. You've done so much. You have all these experiences. I've been around you in conversations, and you talk about that. Like, other people have these experiences, and you have this incredible experience. So you lost out in your cooking. And so now you've transitioned again, another transformation in your life, and you've gone from cooking to entrepreneur and podcaster.
Fabulous. It's funny, when I was a chef, I said, I want to be a restaurant owner, or I want to have a business partner. That's what I said. I said, I want to have a business partner when I'm older. And
you're older and you got a business partner. How cool is that?
I've got more than one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what you can say. And the same goes when Phil interviewed me for his podcast, Invest in Yourself, the podcast series, and it's up on YouTube. It's a 17-minute video of him asking me why do I want to interview experts. And I share a win that Absuma approached me for them to be a guest on my show, and I said yes.
Was that Noah? You had Noah on the show?
Head of growth, Chris Cownden. And in the interview, before I'd even had a conversation with Chris, I said, maybe they could offer me a job or they would sponsor my podcast. Just by saying that was enough manifestation for them to sponsor my podcast, to hire me. So if you've got dreams, just say them out loud and, just take action. Don't quit. Keep going, because most of them come true. Yeah. It's funny, I've got the Miracle Morning book right here, and it's my favorite book. And, it's helped me through so many struggles. It's all highlighted.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It's all highlighted.
Absolutely.
Now that we're all grown up and striving to achieve worthy levels of success and fulfillment, we must take responsibility for initiating our own systems for accountability. Good quote.
Hal Elrod, from the Miracle Morning. I've read that many, many times. Many, many times. You don't know, I'm the narrator for Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, and all the books in the series. So when I say I've read it many, many times, it's funny. I was with Hal a while ago, and he said, "You're the only person in history that has read every single one of my books, cover to cover, read it out loud, and listened to the complete audio from start to finish. Every single one." I said, "And you know what? I think my life is better for it." Chris, thank you so much for being here today and being so open and vulnerable to share your story and to go deep on Life Transformation Radio. I really, really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you've done for me right from the start of my entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you so much for your support and taking time out of your busy and precious day to listen. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guests, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.